From the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. Nick Barris here on a Monday, live and direct to you. Hope you had a good weekend. And, now the countdown is on. Since Thanksgiving, we make our way into the holiday season right now. Many of you are going to be, taking time off. Some of us will continue to work as the news business continues to go through, but we're going to be hopefully spending time one way or the other with family members. Of course, it's going to be very different this year than in the past because of the pandemic, and there are ways you can spend time with family members safely, but there are some issues that come into play, and for some of us, like me, I'm not going to be able to see my parents face-to-face or in person. We may do Skype or Zoom meetings or on the phone or the like, but frankly, I have not seen them in just about a year now because of the pandemic, and they don't live here in the Nashville area. They live out west, but for a lot of us, we're going to be dealing with the added stress of the pandemic, and let's face it, the holidays can be sometimes stressful enough unto themselves as it is. How to deal with it, how to get through with all of this. We're going to put the phone number up on the screen, 737-7587. If you want to join in the conversation with our two great guests with us this morning, joining us from Mental Health America here in the Mid-South region, and let me introduce them both to you today. Lynn Wood is with us. She's a caregiver support specialist, and the CEO is Tom Starling. Good morning to you both. I hope you can hear me all right.
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning. Excellent. Well, let's just start at the top, and we may take some calls throughout the show, but I'll give you each a chance to weigh in. But first, you would both agree this is going to be a holiday like none other, frankly, we've seen ever, unless you want to go all the way back to the pandemic of 1918. So how do you think things are going to be different for most families this year?
I think it'll be different. Just the fact that we miss that connectedness at Mental Health America. We know that connectedness, whether it's in a support group or family members or a faith community, it's a real preventive factor for our mental health. And so we're all wanting to see with family, be with family, and share those traditional Christmas memories, relive those again.
And Lynn, I guess you would agree. Yeah.
I would agree. I'd like to encourage folks, to try to think outside the box a little bit. Let's try to physically distance, but not socially distant ourselves. I had dinner with some family just last night. We didn't hug each other. We made sure that we sat 6 feet apart from each other, but I was at least in the same room. And so there was that connectedness that I felt, but still safe. And so that's important if you are going to be going into your loved one's home.
And a big deal, of course, is dealing with your older loved ones, be it parents or grandparents. And I'm wondering, maybe Lynn, with some of the individuals maybe you've dealt with and the perhaps depression or anxiety that comes along with it. And it's a two-way street. I mean, I know for myself, I'm a little down over the fact that I've not been able to see my folks. Of course, I'm out and about. My folks are in an assisted living facility, and they understand why it is the way it is, but they're feeling it even more so than I am. And I'm just wondering, is it more depression, anxiety? What kind of reactions are you seeing from people, and how best to deal with that?
Well, I can tell you from the families that I've talked with, the issue is more with the children of those older adults, especially the ones living in a community. They're having Christmas. They're celebrating. They're piping in Christmas music. They're streaming Christmas pageants. They're still having a traditional Christmas. It's us that is changing. We can't be there. So that's where the difficulty comes in on our part. I can assure everyone who has a loved one living in a community that they're having Christmas. Don't think Christmas isn't happening at that community. And so you really have to think outside the box to provide that Christmas. If you like making grandma's tater tot casserole, then you can still make it and then just drop it off at the community. So you can still think of ways to have the same traditions, just in a non-traditional way.
Yeah, and what you just described to me, it creates an interesting scenario in my mind in my family, and you're right. My parents are in an assisted living facility, and they're getting exactly what you described. They're in Boise, Idaho, and they miss seeing us, but they have things going on. In the meantime, my aunt, whose husband just passed away this past year, she's a little more self-sufficient and continues to live in the same home she's always lived in. But she is truly alone this time around. And to be quite honest with you, I worry more about her than I do my parents. Not because there's anything wrong with her. She's doing fine, but she's truly alone, and she is not in one of those settings that is providing a lot of what you just described. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to deal with her. I'm thinking of a care package. What do you think of this idea? I've got a big basket at home of a bunch of photographs I have never gotten around to putting into that photo album. I'm just going to grab a ton of those, put them in a box with a Christmas card and maybe some cookies, and I'm going to mail it to her. And I'm just trying to envision, I just think her, and she's old school, so she doesn't want to see it on a phone or a computer, but she can go through every one of those photos. And I don't know, for me, I think that's a good idea. What do you think?
I do think that's a great idea, and you might encourage her to write on the back who those people are.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful activity for anyone if they're living by themselves, or you just get to see your parent every day. Those are memories that they may still have and be able to share that we'll lose once that person is not able to identify those people for us. I would encourage you to put a note in the box that it's helping you. You're not sending her something to do, to give her something to do. You're sending her this to do because it's really going to help you.
Yeah.
And that way she has a purpose and she knows this is meaningful. And something that's important to you, and she can share in that.
Yeah, exactly. And not just to help me, but I want her to keep those photos. And I think she'll get a kick out of seeing all these family photos. It's going to be a kick in the pants for her. So, Tom, what do you think? Besides that, that's something I just pulled out of my head because I know I've got this big basket of photos that are still sitting there that I never got around to. What else can you do for someone like that? Because I think you're both exactly right. The assisted living facilities provide kind of a setting that keep people busy. But for those who are living alone and can't see loved ones like they normally do, it's got to be extra hard.
Yeah, and we've gotten something similar from people who live in an assisted living, that perhaps they go out to see their rheumatologist or go out to see their doctor. And when they come back, they have to quarantine for 10 to 14 days. So sometimes they do end up having to miss out on some of those social activities. So we, encourage things like dogs and cats. The Humane Society, they're just bare. They're just empty right now because everybody is wanting their COVID pet. But it's like you said, I think anything like smells, to spray the Christmas scents.
Sure.
If it's bread, if it's fir trees, to do things like the photo albums, to do the little Christmas calendars to where you get a piece of chocolate every day, or you get to open something up every day, the 12 days of Christmas, any types of crafts that you can do as the weather gets a little bit colder. And even, some type of a service project. I know I saw a lot of people with assisted livings, a lot of older individuals, older adults working with campaigns, election campaigns, and now to maybe focus on soldiers or people who are in the hospital or nursing homes or are essential workers. To do something for them, I think is really important. Anything you can do to kind of get your eyes off of yourself, because that's when those walls really start to close in.
Boy, and we're all going to be feeling that to a degree. Listen, we got to take a break. We've got a few phone calls coming in, just basically to help people. When we come back to you, I want you to give us a little more background as well on Mental Health America and kind of the services that you provide, which is one of the reasons you're on the show this morning. So we'll take a break and talk more about that, take some calls. We're just talking about getting through the holidays, especially as you see on the screen there, it says what to expect when visiting older family members. And I can tell you, I'm not going to be visiting them per se, but I will be seeing them and doing some of the things you're suggesting. We'll be back with more. We're streaming live on Facebook as well if anyone wants to ask questions there, as well as calling us here on the show. We'll be right back after this.